Hi, this is Tim of the Watchbox. Thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. The direct purchase and pricing question line from you to me and my crew for your questions about this or any watch you see here on Watchbox Reviews. tmosso@thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a lovely 40mm red gold FP Journe Tourbillon Souverain Boutique Edition. Reserved for FP Journe retailers, this is a timepiece that you will only find at factory boutiques, and of course 40mm by a very reasonable 10mm thick. It's also 48.3mm, lug-to-lug. Truly impressive is that there's so much complexity and refinement packed into a 10mm thick 40mm case. We'll talk about some of that refinement in a moment, but let's check it out on my 16cm circumference wrist. As you can see from our new, more distant vantage point, the watch wears well. I can recommend it for a smaller wrist than mine. 14cm probably wouldn't be a problem, and I can even see 13.5cm wearing this watch easily. It's comfortable, it's low, it easily fits underneath the cuff. The strap, as you can see, is medium rectangular scale alligator leather in black with a semi-gloss finish, a folded edge, a monotone stitch. You can see there is a small round scale gator inlay on the bottom. It's a new Journe factory strap. The gator on the bottom means it's a more expensive strap, but it also lasts longer, perhaps even years longer than when calfskin is used. Note the use of pull tab spring bars so you can quickly remove the strap from the case for close cleaning or changing the strap. A simple rose gold Journe pin buckle, and then as you can see, we've got semi-curved bars used in this strap so that the lugs can be drilled very close to the case and the strap can still move unimpeded without contacting the case, so you can pull it straight down around a small wrist. The mid case is characteristic FP Journe, defined by the lip of the case back and the bezel. The mid case olive high polish flowing seamlessly into integrated lugs that bend down almost 90 degrees from the horizontal of the case band to fit a smaller wrist. A domed profile bezel, everything is in high polish. You can see the knurled double dimple Journe crown, and then the dial, which is a matte black with a lovely rose gold gilt style printing and a black polished bezel for the tourbillon, constant seconds, the hours, and the minutes. The biomorphic FP Journe hands, as you can see, for hours, minutes, and the power reserve, distinctive of the brand. But I also want to note that the use of screws on the dial, a Journe styling trait dating back to first his prototypes of the 90s, but in production, the first 20 tourbillon remontoir watches of 1999. The bolts on the dial side, once controversial, now shamelessly ripped off by everyone in the industry. Journe was there first. You can see there is a power reserve up at 12 o'clock, and it runs backwards. 42 means 42 hours since I last wound the watch, and it has a 42-hour power reserve. You'll note that with less than 12 hours of power reserve remaining, the deadbeat second system shuts itself off, so the watch will continue operating. You'll also note that as I wind it, all of a sudden we have enough energy to run the remontoir constant force device, which is what renders that deadbeat second. Now, because this is a backwards power reserve, when you get to zero, that means 0 hours since it was last wound. Why? Because FP Journe is paying tribute to marine chronometers, which had to be wound at regular intervals, generally every 24 hours. So it wasn't important to know how much power was left, but how long since you last wound, being that 24 hours was optimal. When you got to 24 hours since the last winding, you would wind a marine chronometer at sea for navigation purposes. The tourbillon is a 1-minute tourbillon. As you can see, a black polished, continuously rounded half bridge for the tourbillon structure with a filigree style wire cage for the tourbillon, and that filigree style cage is beautifully polished. I should also mention the tourbillon itself adjusted in 6 positions with an overcoil hairspring made by hand, beating away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. The energy that is flowing to the tourbillon, right up to about 30 hours remaining, is always going to be the same because the remontoir d'égalité, which you can see is a linear titanium spring on the case back. You can't really see it moving, but rest assured it is meeting out 1-second bursts of energy to the balance, so that the barrel is not driving the balance directly. Rather, there is an intermediate trigger that is a buffer of sorts, a small power reserve determined by the spring, so that the balance retains constant amplitude regardless of the state of wind, lots or relatively little. It will keep excellent time because the force is constant. FP Journe likes to say that the remontoir, not the tourbillon, is what makes this watch accurate. 26 jewels, as you can see, it is remarkably executed, caliber 1403, meaning work on this movement started in 2003, and it is 14 French lean in size. Satin finished wheels, Cote de Genève across the 18-karat solid rose gold bridges and plates. Yes, the movement is made of solid gold. You can can see black polish on the constant force structure just below my finger. All the screw heads are black polished. There's satin finish on the wheels, including the ratchet wheel the ratchet wheel and the crown wheel. There is a pocket watch inspired click and click spring structure, and then you have micro engine turning on the base plate below the click, and then larger engine turning below the remontoir structure with a beveling or anglage on the edge of every bridge. It's a handsomely executed movement, but I will say the finest finish on the watch is on the dial side, on the tourbillon carriage and its surroundings. Again, 42-hour power reserve, 21.6 beat rate, manual wind, 30 meters water resistant, so it's not an aquatic sports watch, but in every other regard, if you're going to buy an FP Journe, get yourself a Resonance or get yourself a Tourb. The Chronomet Bleu is sexy, but if you want the heart and soul of the brand, it's got to be a tourbillon with a remontoir or a Resonance, and I can't think of too many tourbillon watches made by Journe in its 20-plus years that appeal more than this one. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.